we have. Dr. Nimoy Thompson, you're welcome to Face to Face.
Thank you very much.
Would it be cynical to say you fail to fix our future, or you fail to fix our plan? That's why we are in this future mess.
Yes, it would be wrong to say that. We actually did plan, not just for the immediate future, but into the distant future, where our children would live much more satisfying lives. And this was it was the long-term national development plan, which came to be known popularly as the 40-year plan, starting from 2018 to 2057, when Ghana would be celebrating its 100th anniversary. Mm-hmm. And so the solutions were that we spent 2 years analyzing, traveling the country, analyzing all our problems and proposing all the solutions. Unfortunately, before this government even came in, some murmurs have started denigrating, discrediting everything we did. And so the solutions then were abandoned. And it goes back to a bigger political economy problem of the politics of vindictiveness. I noticed that on Sunday, the Minister of Finance spoke to the nation and proposed economic solutions. Now, that's all well and good. I'm glad that he recognized that it's time to dialogue rather than this confrontational stance. But we also need to recognize that despite all the economic solutions, the politics of vindictiveness is what has been holding us back. Besides, before we even get to what we did here, let's go back to Nkrumah's time. We all know, for instance, of the motorway. The motorway was constructed in November 1965. It was a year of difficult economic challenges. Cocoa prices had collapsed. But he insisted that the motorway must be completed. And it was to extend to Kumasi and then to Paga by 1970.
That was his plan.
That was his plan.
Was that in the 9-year development plan?
It was a 7-year development plan. Yeah, it was part of the 7-year development plan to build the motorway from Tema through Accra to Kumasi and then Paga.
So dualize it.
Just as it is. And it was based on the German model. I'm sure you've heard of the German Autobahn. So that's what Nkrumah, the vision he had for transport, at least road transportation in Ghana, with the motorway being the spine, then we're going to have others. And I'm speaking about that because it goes to the heart of the politics of vindictiveness that is holding us back. Because Nkrumah then is overthrown, everything Nkrumah was doing was then thrown away. And as we say in Ghana, Kabashimene, the motorway is exactly where it was.
No extra inch.
And in fact, it has deteriorated in quality.
It's true.
So that in judging by the motorway alone, we are worse off today than we were during Nkrumah's time.
So if you knew this and you had this benefit of hindsight, when you were planning your 40-year plan, you would have been more politically involved.
Precisely.
So that's where you feel.
We involved 6 political parties.
Except the one that was possible going to win the power. You involved the ones that were not going to
win. They
win
were part of it.
They were.
We worked in NDC, MPP, CPP, GCPP, all 6 political parties, PPP. We all jointly worked together.
MPP had input in them?
Yes. I have pictures when we met with Kwabene Japan, Baumia. At the time we were supposed to meet with Nanado, but he had traveled. But he designated Baumia. So Baumia was there, Jambaf. The entire hierarchy of the MPP was
Jambaf was the now Minister for Planning. Well, he was Minister.
He's actually Minister of State for Planning. But he made himself Minister for Planning, which created its own problems. Because you may remember that the president appointed 6 people, and he said, you are all ministers of state, you are supposed to work from my office. But then they went out there and created ministries unto themselves, added to a layer. So 4 years of just wasting money on these ministries. The planning function belongs to NDPC already. It's a constitutional mandate. You don't need a ministry for that. Monitoring and evaluation is a constitutional mandate of NDPC. So 2 ministries that were needless, and yet we went ahead, created them. That's one reason I believe that we need a law to actually restrain any president's ability to create new ministries. You go to Parliament and justify why you think we need new ministries, because it's all a waste of money, ultimately. So we had the framework there. I just... was it yesterday or the day before, saw a news story that we were going to Rwanda to go and learn about sanitation. And I said, oh, Jesus Christ. Ghana, what has become of us? Sanitation was a major part. You see, all these documents you see here, this one, This is 3 volumes.
Okay.
So it's called the National Spatial Development Framework. It's part of this actually started just before I came in. So I led the preparation of, this cost us $2 million
to produce.
It was paid for by the World Bank through international competitive bidding.
National Spatial Development
Framework. This is the volume 2. These are the annexes and so forth. $2 million.
Was this under your tenure that these were produced?
Yes, it started before I did, but I led its completion, and it's part of the long-term national development. I'm saying that because in here contains a lot of the solutions that we propose. The plan itself is here, but this one it's a standalone document.
What are some of the key things that in
it's
there?
For the spatial. It's for spatial planning. Everyone talks about open gutters and unplanned settlements. This was supposed to modernize Ghana, such that we even had a situation where within 10 to 15 years, we're going to cover all open gutters, and then have modern sanitation systems for every city and town in Ghana now, and then for future. Everything was planned. And then I pick up I go online, and I'm told that Ghana is going to Rwanda for lessons in sanitation. Now let's look at some figures. And I'm not in any way trying to put down Rwanda. They've done exceptionally well from where they were before, basically from the pits of hell to where they are now. But look at the figures. Sanitation goes with urbanization. Rwanda is less than 30% urbanized. It's majority rural. Ghana is almost 60% urbanized. So naturally it comes with sanitation challenges. The population of Rwanda is around 12, 13 million. We are 31 million. The economy is around 10 billion. The economies of Accra and Kumasi combined are bigger than the economy of Rwanda.
Put together?
Yes, combined. So it's a much smaller country with much smaller scale of problems. We, on the other hand, are much bigger. We have a much bigger economy. Our economy is almost 70 billion and so forth and so on. So clearly we should be leading and let them come here. This is the infrastructure component of it. There are actually 3 volumes. I only have volume 1 now, but it's 3 volumes. And I'll just take you to a part of it that deals with issues of sanitation. But then again, because of our politics of vindictiveness, they left all these things and they are traveling to Rwanda for solutions that are already here. We prepared this in 2015. It says,
share with me what it says on sanitation.
It says integrated waste management, page 312.
We are planning to make Accra the cleanest city in Africa. We have a
that
ministry for
is a
sanitation.
problem. The question is why Accra? Why not Swedru? Why not Bekwai? Why not Sunyani?
Because Accra is the most urbanized.
No, we should modernize the entire country.
Yeah, but maybe start from one place.
No, we have the point. This is for the entire country. It wasn't just for Accra.
Let me see what your sanitation plans were.
But this is sanitation. We had the solutions as far back as 2015 when we did that. Integrated waste management, introduction, vision and objectives, policies and institutional framework. We talk about liquid waste management, generation and collection, treatment and disposal, recycling and reuse, solid waste management. Everything is listed.
So you have plastics in there?
Everything, you name it, including medical waste. We proposed the solutions, estimated cost and everything. We did all that. Now we come to the issue of water, which is what triggered one of the main things that triggered the Fix Ghana. It was water with people at Tama getting water from gutters and of course the return of Doomso. And I'll talk about all that. But what I found interesting is that this is again from this document. I'll tell you what we said about water and our prediction of the water crisis in 2021.
You predicted that?
Yes. We're not prophets. We're just economists.
So you use science to determine that based on A, B, C, D, this will happen.
Let me just read that portion to you. Because we have fresh water and underground water. We said, freshwater ecosystems are quite in an unhealthy state in Ghana. The continued and unregulated activities of small-scale miners, Galamsey, are almost entirely responsible for the deterioration in the quality of some water bodies such as the Tano, Pra, Burin, Ofin, and Ankobra rivers. This is what we said in 2015.
2015, 6 years ago.
Yes, but it was supposed to start in 2018, but we could even have started earlier if we wanted to. Now, it talks about the level. There's a threshold for when a country is supposed to be declared water stressed.
Okay.
The threshold is 1,700 cubic meters of water. If you fall below 1,700, you are water stressed. At the time we prepared the document, we were 1,941, so we're above the threshold. But we predicted that Galamsey and all these things were threatening that threshold. And so then we went ahead and said, based on the long-term national development plan, it is anticipated that the annual water availability per capita would drop below the water stress benchmark of 1,700 by the year 2021.
And the implications would be?
The implications would be effect on industry, on households, on agriculture.
There wouldn't be potable water for people.
No, but not just potable water for household consumption. I'm looking for another thing here. After we did that, I don't know if your camera can pick that up.
Yeah, just share.
After we did that, we then projected our water needs from 2018 to 2047 for domestic use, industrial use, and irrigation. Because you need to plan for all these things. When you go out there and you promise them, or if you elect me, I will modernize agriculture and all that, it has implications for so many things beyond agriculture. Because agriculture uses a lot of water from irrigation. That means as the water for agriculture increases, you need to produce more for what? Commercial, industrial, and household use. Otherwise, you're going to have dislocations or shortages. So all these things have been planned.
Did you have a plan for housing, the housing deficits?
Every single thing is in there.
What was your mindset when you thought of housing? So by the time we are 100, everybody will have a house for free, or there will be mortgage?
There's no such thing as free. We are learning that the hard way. There's no such thing as free. But we have predictions. I can go through them with you. This, for instance, is...
So what document are you looking at?
This is a summary. The document itself is a bigger one.
And the title is what?
It's the same thing.
Black Star Rising.
Black Star Rising, Long-Term National Development Plan of Ghana, 2018 to 2057.
And your plan based on the facial value is that what? In 100 years we'll have what?
Well, in 100 years, first of all, in 100, we start at the highest level. There's a whole panel here that gives us. So, for example, by the time Ghana turned 100, our GDP was supposed to be 3.4 trillion US dollars. From at the time, it was 42 billion. And so it's like a vision. You close your eyes and imagine where Ghana would be by 2057.
But is that supported by science and the facts?
But that's the thing. You close your eyes and imagine where Ghana would be in 2057. And then you work your way backwards, starting from 2018. If we want to have $3.4 trillion economy, what should we start doing in 2018, 2019, 2020, ultimately building up to that? Because whether we plan for it or not, 2057 would come. But you are better off planning for it. And so we did all these things. So we projected what it should be, the per capita income as a result. At the time it was 1,500. We projected 58,000 US dollars average income for Ghana, which is eminently attainable. Because if we compare, for instance, where Ghana was in 1962 with, let's say, South Korea, our average income was 50% higher than South Korea. Today, South Korea is 30,000. We are 2,200. If we had kept the same pace, our per capita income would be 45,000 US dollars today.
The momentum dropped.
It dropped massively after 1966. And so we projected everything we need to do now, starting in 2018. Electricity and water are the main issues. So let me focus on those. Electricity consumption per capita. At the time, it was 348. We said that by 2018, it should be 620. And by 2021, because don't forget the plan, even though it was 40 years, it was split into 10 four-year plans, medium-term plans. Okay. And the first four-year plan was 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. So the first plan is supposed to be coming to an end this year. And one of the targets was that we should have electricity consumption per capita of 620, up from 348 by 2018. As of 2019, we had done only 460.
We hadn't gone any
We
higher
hadn't
than
met the target for 2018, and it is highly unlikely that we'll meet the target of 850 for 2021. So we can reasonably project that we are going to have major electricity problems because we didn't follow what we have proposed in there. Could we have met the targets? Of course. Because there was more than enough electricity to increase electricity consumption per capita. But what happened again? The politics of vindictiveness. They started politicizing it, demonizing John Mahama. He produced too much. Where in the world, especially in the developing country, do you hear anybody complaining that there's too much electricity?
When it is too much, you're paying for it and you're not using it. That's
The
useless
main
power,
problem
isn't it?
was inadequate demand, which itself is the result of lack of policy.
So inadequate demand, and you have enough supply. To who? Who are you supplying it to?
If you had the right policies, because we had certain growth. In fact, one of the things the MPP said in the manifesto that we were all very happy with at the commission was that they promised a double-digit growth in the first 4 years. And we're happy because we had also predicted that there were 3 phases of economic growth if we were to achieve our target by 2057. Rapid double-digit growth, stable growth afterwards. After the rapid double-digit growth, you then stabilize to, let's say, high single-digit growth, and then mid-single digit, because you can't keep growing at double-digit. So we had all that, and so we're happy. We actually embraced that, and we supported that. But then they didn't even follow. And so what happens? If you read all their documents since then, they were actually predicting a slowing down of economic growth, away from double-digit to single-digit.
This plan that you put together, were there technical people involved? Because you did it under an NDC government, and you're concerned that the people who came after you did not follow through.
No.
Maybe you invited hardcore politicians to the table, but did you also invite hardcore technical people from political parties?
The politicians were at the strategic level, at the top level. So they obviously they would govern,
Okay.
and so they had to be part of it. But the technical work was done by some of the finest brains in this country. You name it, we had them there.
Not NDC people.
No. And not every, no. We had experts in electricity, in water. There were even Ghanaians outside of Ghana who participated. They were all expert technocrats, about 40 or 50 of them, from all backgrounds. Let me read some of the sections for you to see. So it wasn't an NDC, and that's the reason why we didn't put anybody's picture there. We didn't put John Mahama's picture there. We didn't put Professor Botche's picture there. Professor Botche, don't forget, he is the longest serving finance minister in Ghana, professor at Harvard, Columbia, and all sorts of places. He was the chairman of the commission. We did not put his picture in there. John Mahama was president then. We did not put his picture in there because we wanted it to be a national development plan that cuts across government. And one of the things this government has done is to bastardize the document and then put their own pictures in there just to lay claim to it.
They produced one after yours?
Oh yeah, they took our document and more or less, shall we say, eviscerated it, just bastardized it, to the point where you don't even recognize. They started by saying,
and put photos in there?
Say that again?
Put photos in there?
The current chairman's picture is in there.
Professor Steve Ade.
Professor, with his title, emeritus professor, everything, just so the world knows that he's what he is. So his picture is in there. Professor Butcher's picture. And that's the reason why we didn't put his picture. We didn't want to politicize the document. And you would notice that even though we all had our political persuasions at the time, not a single time did Professor Butcher or I make any public statement that was derogatory against any political party. We kept our political beliefs to ourselves. Put Ghana. But let me share some of it, because you asked a very important question. Some of the elements: electricity generation, transmission, electricity distribution. For distribution, we had a target there. Mm-hmm. In the distribution, they were losing about 23% of electricity distribution.
Distribution losses.
Technical and commercial losses. We had a target that they should reduce that to. I forget what it was to put it somewhere here, losses. It was supposed to be reduced. It was 24% at the time. So electricity distribution was 24. And I remember we had a meeting with all the technical, they assured us that there was going to be smart transmission, this and that. And on the basis of that, we forecasted 12%, a decline from 24 to 12%. As I speak with you, it's actually almost 25.
It's climbing up.
It's going up. And those are the inefficiencies that then pass on to consumers in the form of what? Higher tariffs. We had a similar problem with the water sector. 50% of water generated
is lost.
It's lost. But we set targets also.
You kept referring to political vindictiveness, and you make it sound as if beyond Nkrumah or after 66, nothing else happened. Was it really that bad?
It's been bad like that. It's been fluctuating. Now it's moved from vindictiveness to vanity, as I showed you, that people want to put their picture. Now we're going to have a new commission. And so what is going to happen? The new chairman will also put his picture there. Let's put all the frivolous stuff aside and put Ghana first.
This is Face to Face on City TV. My guest is Dr. Nimoy Thompson. He's Director General former of the National Development Planning Commission. He has lots of plans that would push Ghana forward, but these plans are in his room, not even in the hall. They are in somewhere obscure location. I'll ask him how they can move out of here and how they can help grow the country. Also, he says every solution of the Fix Ghana campaign is found in these books. We'll try and tease some of them out. Don't worry.
It's a good day to meet every challenge. It's a good day to want more out of life. It's a good day to wish for it, work for it, go get it. Familiar taste, a delicious indulgent with a flavor you just can't hide. Refreshing energy, gives so much for so little. For a strong performance, you've come to the right place. Good Day Energy Drink. Why wait a minute to enjoy a good day when every second counts? Good Day Energy Drink keeps you going. Excessive drinking can be detrimental to your health. Not recommended for persons under 18 years, lactating mothers, pregnant women, and people sensitive to caffeine. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
The Big Issue brings you analysis of the biggest news stories of the week.
The clerk should not assume the role of being the one through whom Kwesi should be served, because Kwesi was not yet a member of parliament and not yet subject to his jurisdiction.
And the thinking has always been that when you come to parliament, you are coming to enrich yourself. When you are yet, no matter how good you are.
Join me every Saturday morning as we bring context and meaning to the biggest issues of the week.
The MPP has got to quickly wean its mind off the last 4 years, because you're in a false sense of security.
At a point, it was so bad that the President of the Republic then, who was the leader of the New Patriotic Party, President Kufuor, had to issue a statement to encourage the Electoral Commission to declare the winner so he could use the power and the authority of government to ensure that the winner was supported.
My name is Godfred Akutubuafo, and this is The Big Issue. Every Saturday at 10 a.m. only on City TV.
You're welcome back to Face on City TV. I am Umaru Sandamad. My guest is Dr. Nimoy Thompson, former DG of the NDPC. Doc, you create the impression that because of what you describe as vindictiveness, nothing seems to progress beyond one political party. Free SHS has been rolled out by this government. That would be a very elaborate plan for the education sector. It has proven to be working largely. You foresee that this can continue to work, or it may also be affected by the vindictiveness you talk about?
Well, I'll address that, but let me address the last question you raised, which is housing in the infrastructure. The idea was also not just to develop infrastructure, but create employment along the way. And this is where hopefully as the conversation proceeds, and I want you to make a note of that, we'll discuss the government's claim that the current challenges we are facing is because of COVID. It's actually, the challenges actually started before COVID.
Okay.
And in some instances, actually, COVID helped us.
Okay.
It actually, but let me address the last question you raised about housing. The infrastructure plan covered every aspect of infrastructure: energy, water, housing, even cemeteries. We are supposed to plan our cemeteries well as part of open spaces.
Really?
Civic. Oh yes, yes. Because look at our cemeteries around the country. They're among the worst. They look like baller, literally. In fact, in most instances, they are baller.
They are baller. They are
Yes.
refuse dumps.
You go to a Wudome, it's complete. So everything is listed in there.
Or den for criminals.
Exactly. We're supposed to modernize our infrastructure, make them resilient, efficient. In terms of housing, specifically, we projected 2.2 million rooms. We didn't say houses, because you can have a structure, but rooms was the key.
2.2 million rooms.
20.2. 20.2
so
million
20,
rooms.
Wow, 20 million rooms plus.
20.2 million rooms needed to house Ghanaians adequately by 2057. And so you then begin to do what? Plan from 2018 onwards. And then we had estimates of what this would mean in terms of materials, in terms of investment, in terms of employment, in terms of incomes, in terms of revenue, and so forth and so on. 526 million tons of cement. I'm glad to see that Ghanaians Jata cement is on. So, Ibrahim, this is for you. This is what we projected. These, of course, are estimates. They could be slightly higher, but at least they give you a handle
Something to work with.
So 526 million tons of cement, 64 million tons of iron rods, 225 million cubic meters of wood, 1 billion cubic meters of sand, and so forth. And if you've been reading
This is what you are planning.
This is what we planned. This is what we propose at the highest
Including
level.
the wood that will be required.
Say that again?
Including the wood that will be required.
Exactly. We had estimates of all that. What that does is that it gives you a sense of what you should do in the short to medium term. And for instance, if someone hears that, hey, these guys are planning and they're going to need 64 million tons of iron rods, they're then going to make investments. So it's going to be, this is not a centralized government thing. No, it's an indicative plan where the private sector and the government work together to help meet our needs. So we planned everything. The vindictiveness comes in when they then came in and trashed everything, decided to more or less reinvent the wheel. They even started something called Ghana Beyond Aid. And it became the senior minister's own passion. They were even paying people 450 Ghana cedis to attend workshops and so forth and so on. They did that. What did we get out of that? A complete international embarrassment. When they put Kenya, a picture of Nairobi's skyline on the cover, it means they didn't even have their hearts and minds in what they were doing, just to spite us. So they put a picture of Nairobi on Ghana Beyond Aid until it became an international embarrassment. And then what happened? They put some other picture there. But as I speak with you, Imoro, I was there 3 days ago. I went to the office of the senior minister's website. And guess what? The same old Ghana Beyond Aid document is there. This is what politics of vindictiveness can do to you.
So let's talk about the ones that are succeeding or will succeed. I was interested in the education sector. Education is critical in this plan that you have.
Big time.
And did you envisage free SHS?
Yes, it's definitely part of it. Free SHS, by the way, has been on the books since 1951.
Not 92.
No. It's been on the books. The CPP's first manifesto has free SHS in there. And then the 7-year development plan also has free SHS. It shows you how much ground we've lost. But go ahead. I just want to give...
Is it working well, the free SHS, based on
it's
the
obviously not working as well as it should. There are 3 areas. This is my personal view. It's not from the plan. There are 3 areas that I believe should be subjected to consensus building in policymaking in Ghana. Education is one. Health is the other one. And then national security. These 3 things should never be politicized because of the implications of politicizing them. If you mess up education, you are not just messing up, because a lot of the people in charge of education don't even send their kids to public schools. But if you mess it up, it becomes an intergenerational curse, if you will. It affects us for long after the ministers are even dead and gone. It's the same thing with health. And it's the same with national security. As for national security, you compromise it, it affects our very being. Fortunately, I saw a news item yesterday where all former education ministers, the current minister met with them. Clearly, they're recognizing the need for consensus building and collaboration. And I'm happy that we are moving in that direction. We have to do the same with health and other areas.
Collaboration.
Also. Collaboration. We need to collaborate because ultimately these things affect all of us. They just increase the price of petrol. It doesn't matter whether you are MPP and this. So we need to collaborate. Unfortunately for us, the kind of political system we've developed is also really ultimately anti-development. This 4-year, 8-year nonsense. It's anti-development.
Talk to me about transportation. What did your plan capture for transportation, i.e., rail transport, water transport, road transport?
You're already mentioning everything. We covered all that. Road transport. We even in the transport plan, we actually have charging stations for electric cars. But you're not going to have charging stations when you have Doomsor. And so our proposal was the complete elimination of Doomsor. And it can be done. Most of these people in power have lived abroad. They went to school abroad. They know that there's zero Doomsor in the UK.
This government says it is fixing the Doomsor issue.
It's not a question of fixing it. We want a permanent solution to it. That means with the entire governance structure in the energy sector, in the utilities in general, has to change. It means we no longer appoint CEOs in the energy sector or the water sector, starting from VRA, Gridco, ECG, Ghana Water, fire all of them. The president can still continue to appoint the board of directors and let them advertise their positions and then give them mandates to solve it and see if we won't solve the problem. The main problem is the politicization of these state-owned enterprises. Because you have incompetent people there who are there solely by virtue of their proximity to power.
So this may sabotage your electric cars agenda. What was your plan with rail? We have seen a new ministry for railway created by this
At the time we did it, there were 10 regions, and there were going to be a national rail network that went through all the 10 regional capitals. But we have plans for light rail in Accra, Kumasi, Sekondi, Takoradi, and Tamale. And you see them beautifully laid out. I think they're actually here. Oh yes, they're here.
Okay.
I don't know if you can see them.
Okay, there's a new plan by the Rail Ministry under Jogati, which you showed to me last year, that shows the plan that they have for the nation and looks similar to this. I do not know if this is where they tapped it from.
This is light rail for Accra, Tema.
Okay, just Accra, Tema. Okay.
And then this is light rail for Kumasi.
Okay, okay.
This is light rail for Tamale. And this is light rail for Sekondi, Takoradi.
Okay, I'll come so you tell me specifically what your plan for Tamale and the northern part of the country is, but air transport.
Yes.
There are people who believe that it is misplaced priority to put up an airport in a place like Cape Coast, for instance. There are people who believe that it was a misplaced priority and indeed a wastage to have put up an airport in Ho because it's been years now, it's not been utilized. What did your plan say about air transport?
We actually proposed airports, or at least aerodromes, for each regional capital. And putting an airport in Cape Coast, putting an airport in Ho is not, I repeat, it is not a bad idea.
Why?
Because people are thinking of just today. If we project our population in Ghana to increase from 31 million now to about 57 in 2057. So when you build transportation infrastructure, you are not just building it for today, you are building it for the future. When Nkrumah built the motorway, he wasn't just thinking about 1965. Imagine if we had the motorway today. Can you imagine that it would have reduced the time it would cost? So when we build these things, people always think about, oh, it's misplaced priority. No, no, no. Even now, if you build an airport in Cape Coast, it will be fantastic. It's a center of education. I don't know if you had a kid or know some. I have my daughter that had to travel. It's crazy.
Is that wiggy?
It's crazy trying to visit someone there. And because it's a center of education, not just secondary school schools where the parents are visiting on weekends, but also the university research, it will be one of the most profitable routes in Ghana.
You'd fly to take your child to school or fly to go visit your child?
To go and visit. You can even fly if you can afford it. Just go and visit. And I forget which, I used to live in South Africa when I was with the UN, I think in Pretoria, and to go to Durban. As soon as the plane takes off, before you know it, it's time to land. But it was efficient. And then on weekends, between Pretoria and Cape Town, where the capital, where administrative, the flight was always full. Architects, engineers, politicians. It's a lucrative, so let's cast away this view that it's a waste of money. It is not a waste of money. And by the way, the former regional minister, Kujo Yanka, had that idea over 20 years ago.
But the whole airport becomes the example we go to when we want to test these things. And the whole airport, as we speak, is still not flying.
Because they delayed. Did you listen to what they said? They said that they were not informed. The airlines that should have been flying to were never informed. And there are conventions for using airports. After they've been built, you have to test them, you have to do so many things. Nobody did that. They have just started flying now. Give it 5 years, give it 10 years, and trust me, in 20 or 30 years, whole airport will be overcrowded.
This is Face to Face on City TV. My name is Umaru Sandamadu. My guest is Dr. Nimoy Thompson. We are discussing general plans that he's had, or his office when he was NDPC boss had, and which plans he says have been abandoned. Now, I am interested in the northern part of the country. Rural-urban drift is a problem for us. Developing the north is a big issue. We have seen Savannah Development Authority. Now we have the Northern Development Authority, the NADA, and several other interventions. They have all failed in the past. Did your NDPC capture how we can bridge the gap, the developmental gap between the south and the north?
We more than did that. Again, there's a history to it. You go back, I hate to keep taking you back to Nkrumah's time, but the 7-year development plan actually talks about, and it refers specifically to the southward drift of labor and so forth. So we took all that into consideration. In the plan itself, and bear in mind the institutional arrangements here, the chief executive of SADA, Charles Bugri, was a member of the commission, and the commission also sat on the board of SADA. The end result is these documents, and there are several others. This is what people always think of SADA as a confirm and so forth, but that was the first 2 years when there was mismanagement. But the last 2 years were among the best in development planning in Ghana, not just in the north, in Ghana. This is what he ended. Commercial Agriculture Investment Guide, the Northern Savannah Zone of Ghana. This is the other one. Transforming the savannah through agriculture, agribusiness, resources, clusters, and value chains of the SADA zone of Ghana. And the SADA zone wasn't just the three northern regions.
3 regions of the north. Now there are 5.
No, not just that. But at the time, it was the 3 northern regions, Upper East, Upper West, and North, and then the northern part of Brong-Ahafo at the time, and then the northern part of Volta.
OT region now.
Exactly, which is now OT region. Mm-hmm. And you should see the analysis they did for OT region alone, for its transformation. And yet we abandoned all that just because someone said, if you elect me, I will abolish SADA and create a northern region, or northern development this, and this development that. And since then, what? We've seen nothing. Again, I've seen some of the documents where they actually then replace the old pictures with their own pictures. Similar to, I saw a hashtag, Build Kumasi Now, or Fix Kumasi Now. There's a Greater Kumasi plan. In fact, there's 3 volumes that we incorporated.
What does it say?
This is about the transformation of Kumasi also. In fact, this one I had started before I came to office, but I met the fellow who led it. It was funded by JICA, the Japanese. Yes. And they placed a consultant in Kumasi for 2 years. And every single problem they're facing in Kumasi now is here. It's been addressed. To address issues of congestion, transport congestion, housing, everything is being there.
Why is it not being used?
I have no clue. Again, if it was being used...
We have mayors. Mayors should have... The mayor of Kumasi should be able to...
You are moving into a whole new area now of development challenge, which is local economic development, which we have bastardized again. The central government has simply suppressed the development of local economies. So it's a whole... When we're doing the plan, we analyze each region's what we call GCP, gross city product, and not gross. It turns out that Obuasi, for example, was the most productive. They had the highest productivity in the Ashanti region, even higher than that of Kumasi and all that. But then it goes back to the issue of local economic development, which we promoted. Unfortunately, it hasn't gotten the same oomph, as they say, or the support it needs. 2 years ago, I was in one district doing some research, and they were beginning to implement their revenue mobilization plan. And then someone from Accra calls them and says, stop, because you are making the party unpopular. Local assembly trying to mobilize resources for development, and someone in Accra telling them to stop it. So how do we then finance development if your sole obsession is the popularity of your... And this particular district has some very bad roads. So we need to take an integrated approach to national development and come to the realization that national development, all right? National development is ultimately the aggregation of local development. And so if you suppress local development, by implication, you're suppressing, and you will always have revenue challenges.
Okay. You have made beautiful plans, 40-year development and so on. Where is the money, or what was your plan for getting money to enforce these plans or implement these plans?
Okay, revenue mobilization and revenue utilization. Revenue mobilization is quite common or quite popular. Let's raise taxes, let's be more efficient and so forth and so on. But revenue utilization is often neglected, which is how efficient you are with the money that you raise. You can ask for financing, it can be through revenue directly. There are several approaches to financing. I don't want to get too technical, but I'll explain to you. Well, what we call pay as you go for infrastructure. You raise the money, you pay, you raise the money. It's not the most efficient. And then we have what we call intergenerational financing. You use bonds and so forth. But we just are so busy borrowing from abroad, no one is even addressing the issue of developing the bond market in Ghana to finance these things. But once you talk about revenue mobilization, revenue utilization then deals with issues like corruption and waste. Because for instance, the minister just announced, I think, that we need $10 billion to fix our roads. If he were to, let's say, cut the cost of doing all these things by half, the money will get us double that, 20 billion. And by the same token, if you raise, because of corruption and waste, the cost of providing anything is doubled. It means you get half the number of, let's say, schools or hospitals. So we should always look at the two aspects of the equation.
But did you see that the country had the resources to support this
Definitely.
plan?
As long as you are growing your economy and you have an efficient tax administration system and you deal with the issue of corruption and waste, you can finance your development. China, before you leave, I'll give you a printout from how China's own path to development, or even Japan. So it's not, financing should perhaps be our least worry. The main thing is that you have the vision and then have the commitment to raise the revenue and then utilize it well. There's too much, besides we only talk about corruption. I prefer to talk about corruption and waste, because some of the expenditure is not necessarily illegal, but it's wasteful and it has the same effect on development as corruption.
The Minister for Finance, Kenneth Ofori-Atta, has spoken, and he says there are going to be interventions by the government. He touches on several of the aspects, talks about health, agriculture, tourism, trade, digitization, science and technology, housing, and financial services. This was the press briefing on Sunday in response to the Fix Ghana campaign. You've listened to him. Does that satisfy you as a man who drives the economy of Ghana?
Well, I'm glad that he actually recognized the voices of this young generation of activists who have come to dominate the policy space. But still, he will have to deal with some of the issues that I've just raised. China, for instance, pulled off the economic miracle. Largely, until recently, they were actually executing corrupt officials almost every month. So we cannot do anything in this country without tackling the issue of corruption. And it needs to be front and center. The minister needs to be able to go to parliament every year and report exactly what they've done to deal with it. Otherwise, it could be $100 billion and it will simply go into individuals' pockets and so forth. So that you have to bear in mind. I see Israel Laye started something, he talked about V8 and whatnot. It may sound trivial, but it is serious. Where is V8 manufactured? It's manufactured in Japan. Do they use V8 in Japan? No. You never see a single government official in Japan using V8. And yet in Ghana, it's all over the place. The little money we make as a poor country, we use to buy some of the most expensive vehicles in the world and drive them on some of the worst roads. And not just that. Go to a typical government function. The minister comes, his V8, the engine is on for 3 hours just to keep it cool. I mean, what kind of madness is that? Vanity. You are a minister, so your V8 is on for 3 hours while you're in a restaurant. So it's not just corruption. The issue of waste must also be tackled. Modesty. The Japanese prime minister travels with 5-car motorcade. 5-car. Not even sirens. They blow whistles for cars to clear the route. So issues of modesty in leadership and efficiency must also play a role. Secondly, I commend him for his effort and other, but in order to be successful, we'll also have to carry out certain reforms, especially in the conduct of monetary policy by the central bank, Bank of Ghana. For too long, they've been so obsessed with price stability, strike, that Taflacha is a lot of nonsense, especially for a developing country. There's no basis. We need to amend the law again and make economic growth and employment creation the primary objective of the central bank. It's the only way we can tackle the unemployment. There's no other way.
Okay.
We can't do that by simply being fixated with inflation targeting, and that, no, it's just not going to happen. We need to restructure the central bank. In fact, they will have to create a labor economics department to help guide policy. And of course, we have to provide, as I speak with you, the Minister of Employment doesn't even have a single labor economist. And yet we always talk about creating employment. So we need institutional reforms to be able to bring these ideas that the minister has.
Indeed, thank you. That's Dr. Nimoy Thompson, he's the former DG of NDPC. He talks about institutional reform. He says they've done a lot of work. Indeed, there's evidence in the documents that he has before him. These documents are not being utilized. New ones have come up. How can these documents be really utilized? That's the next conversation. How they'll get off his shelves and into our heads and into the heads of the people who are supposed to implement the grand development agenda. Stay with us on Face to Face.
Good Day Energy Drink keeps you going. Available in major supermarkets and shops near you. Excessive drinking can be detrimental to your health. Not recommended for persons under 18 years, lactating mothers, pregnant women, and people sensitive to caffeine. This advert is FDA approved.
You're welcome back to Face on City TV. So people are asking for Ghana to be fixed. You were boss of NDPC. If you were still in charge of NDPC or you had the opportunity to implement the NDPC plan that you had, how do you envisage Ghana can be fixed?
Well, first of all, we need to be factual and truthful to ourselves, especially at this point in time. I notice that the government is trying to blame everything on COVID. And once you do that, in the policy sciences, we have an expression that a problem well defined is a problem half solved. Defining the problem means identifying its causes. Yes, COVID did some harm to us, but it also actually did some good. And long before COVID, the economy, 2 years before COVID, the economy was already in a slide. So you look at the construction sector, for example. It began to slow down at the start of 2018. And then by the beginning of 2019, it was actually the construction sector, which is very dynamic when it comes to job creation and so forth, the carpenters, mason and all that. By the beginning of 2019, it was in negative territory. I'll show you, I'll give you the graph later on. And so for 2019 as a whole, construction actually declined by 4.4%. This was before COVID. And this is one of the implications of joblessness in the country. When manufacturing declines in a whole by 4.4% in 2019, it's in the 2021 budget. It's the exact same decline also in water and sewerage, 4.4% in 2019. But COVID, amazingly enough, led to a surge in spending in water and sanitation and sewage. So you see a positive growth rate in 2020 as a result of COVID. That is not to say that COVID didn't do some harm to us. It decimated the hospitality industry, restaurants, hotels, and so forth and so on. But let's be clear in our minds that long before COVID, the economy was in a crisis. It was heading downwards. And the only way we can then resolve that problem, along with addressing COVID, is to be truthful to ourselves. I keep emphasizing truthful and factual because I saw the Vice President's list of what he says we're doing. The very first one was inflation, what they inherited and what they've done. What he doesn't tell you is that in 2019, the Ghana Statistical Service actually rebased inflation from 2012 to 2018. And they said that from 2019 onwards, you cannot compare anything. August 2019, you cannot compare anything that came before that. So in August, for example, the inflation rate was around 7.4 thereabout, August 2019. It was 7.4. And according to the Ghana Statistical Service, you couldn't compare it to July 2019 or anything before August 20. So therefore,
because the base is different.
The base has changed. And so you can't go out there today in May 2021 and say, well, we inherited this. You cannot do that. In any case, in assessing the government's performance, it's not so much about what you inherited and what we can do that analysis, but what you promised and what you've done. Performance, promise versus performance, the gap between that. And it's very critical in terms of making a dent, because let's say John Mahama built 2 schools. And Nana came and said, well, but that's, he's a lazy president. If you elect me, I will build 6. So Ghanaians give him the mandate to build 6 schools. Instead, he builds 3. And
says, I've done better than 2.
Exactly. I've done better than 2.
You don't think that's a fair assessment?
No, because we promised us 6. So you have a 50%.
So that you should be judged by your deliverables, not your predecessors.
No, because we're still, the 3 is still inadequate. You told us that you deliver 6. And you deliver 3, that's a 50% failure rate. Whether Mahama built 1, 2, or whatever, it's pointless at this point. We can, certainly within a certain context, we can look at that, but that's not what we're talking. We are looking at the 6, not the 2 and the 3. And so we need to constantly hold the government to its promises, because we're moving forward. Now, lastly, before I even wrap it up, the issue of fixing the country versus fixing our attitudes and so forth and so on. The cover of the plan that we prepared, I will just read it out loud. It says, the most secure democracy is the one that assures the basic necessities of life for its people as a fundamental duty. Let me repeat that. The most secure democracy is the one that assures the basic necessities of life for its people as a fundamental duty. 1992 Constitution, Article 36, 2E. And that democracy is manifested in the government of the day. So you can't then turn around when we are calling on you, we're calling you out to fulfill your promises and say, no, it's the attitude of the people. Last week I bought units for 550 Ghana cedis. But 10 minutes after I swiped it on, the lights go off. How's that my attitude? People have been complaining for the president to get rid of the balls for ECD for God knows how long. He's still at post. That's why I said we need to change the governance structure. Fire all these people and hire them from the market. Just as can you imagine that there's a shortage of ideal milk, and the CEO or the MD for Nestle is going around there blaming the driver or the gate man or the watchman and whatnot? No, you take full responsibility. So it's a leadership problem at this point. When it comes to the people's attitudes, it's a separate campaign. We can always launch that. But in the final analysis is leadership. Everywhere in the world, not just Ghana. Leadership, leadership, leadership.
What do you make of how this leadership has been responding to the Fix Ghana campaign team?
It's been fractured. You have those who think it's not a problem. Obviously, the vice president doesn't even believe that. It's an issue, and he came up with his own thing. His spokesperson.
Is that he's fixing it?
Yeah, he's fixing it. Well, some of them he's fixed and others. But at least the one who's actually in the driver's seat, the Minister of Finance, knows better. And he's conceding that, yes, there's room for more work to be done. And so he's doing that. So we should make that distinction from what other people or what the public should do. Again, as I said, you might have seen the picture of Joe Biden, the current president of the United States, kneeling before the son of George Floyd. It's about 9 or 10-year-old boy, and apologizing to him. Joe Biden wasn't even president of the United States at the time George Floyd was killed. But he's kneeling before the son. Why? Because ultimately, every president, in fact, that's the basis of the social contract. I don't know if you ever read the social contract by Jacques Rousseau, the French philosopher, that we cede certain freedoms and certain properties in the form of, and then the state is supposed to then do what? Provide the conditions for us people. And so if look at New York, everyone talks about New York City. I've watched this guy's videos, Trinidad Jonas, Glass and Kwan. Yes. But New York City used to be one of the filthiest, smelliest cities in the world. They used to pour urine from the tenements to the pavement because they had no sewage system.
Someone has fixed that.
It took leadership to do that. The people themselves were pouring urine onto the street.
You have said to me that 2 million cedis, or was it dollars, was spent on this documents that you have here started?
Just the spatial development framework.
Okay.
The others are different price tags. The long-term plan itself was about 10 million Ghana cedis. The Kumasi one was paid for by JICA. The SADA one. So the bottom line is that we spent millions of dollars.
So over 10 million was spent
over 10 million.
producing documents that are sitting in your room.
These are copies.
Tell me this is not financial loss to the states.
Well, the actual documents, the copies are all with the government. These are my copies as a former Director General. I have soft copies, I have hard copies. Anybody who wants...
Who causes a financial loss?
Someone else will have to determine that. I would hesitate to use that term because it's profound. The documents are still there. It's not too late for us to go back. And I strongly, strongly encourage the Minister of Finance to go back to the 40-year development. He should brush aside everything. Because what they've done, listen, they produced a new document called Ghana at 100, rather. It's just a bastardization of the work we did. And the technical deficiencies in that document, I'll give you just two examples. I told you that our projection was that by 2057, there should be a national average income of $58,000. And it's in the table that we have. And they reproduced that table. But because they are so vindictive, in their narratives, they actually reduced that to $50,000. So which is which? Are we aspiring to 58,000 or 50,000 euros? There are several others. There's another one, which is perhaps the most serious of them all. They talk about drivers of transformation, and then they mention efficient productivity. The problem is that there's no such thing in economics, efficient productivity. It shows that they were not even thinking through the work. Their obsession was to just discredit everything we've done. There's no such thing in economics. Productivity is a function of efficiency, technical efficiency. There's several types of efficiency that lead to, but that's efficient productivity in a document.
It's alien. We have to go, but whose job is it to ensure these things are implemented? The finance minister.
The finance minister has, because everything ultimately leads to his doorstep. So he can drive it. He holds the purse strings. He can say, listen, if you don't implement this thing, you're not getting any money. But of course, he also has to, and the president needs to sit up. Because I personally went to the president's house the day before he was sworn in. I briefed him. He agreed that this is the way to go. I have the video. I have later on when he appointed. I have everything. He agreed, and then he allowed some of his ministers to more or less dribble him.
Dr. Nimoy Thompson, thank you for coming on.
You're most welcome, sir.
And my name is Umaru Sandamadu. Thank you. It's been great coming your way on Face to Face on City TV. Do join us again next week as we bring you another episode. Stay with City TV though. It's your world.